only and may contain references to real people, events, and criminal cases. All content is based on publicly available sources, such as news reports, legal documents, and public records. Any copyrighted material used is done so under the guidelines of fair use, Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, for commentary, criticism, news reporting, and research. The content presented here does not reflect personal opinions or beliefs, nor is it intended to sway viewers' thoughts or push any agenda. I am simply sharing facts as they are known at the time of recording. Nothing in this video should be interpreted as an attempt to defame or influence anyone. My goal is to inform.
Everyone wants to know what happened. How in the world can a mother wait 30 days before ever reporting her child missing? It's insane. It's bizarre. Something's just not right about that.
For 31 days, no one outside the Anthony home knew Caylee was missing. 31 days without a single report, no police, no hospitals, no family updates, a silence so thick it smothered the truth, and no one knew it yet. But inside that home, something was off. Caylee Anthony, Caylee's mother, lived under her parents' roof. She came and went as she pleased. Caylee, once constantly in the arms of her grandmother Cindy, had seemingly vanished. And every time Cindy asked where her granddaughter was, Casey had an answer. Caylee was with the nanny. She was at the beach. She was sleeping. She was at the theme park, always just out of reach. Cindy wanted to believe it. She wanted to believe her daughter wouldn't lie, that Caylee was safe, that there was no reason to panic. But days turned into weeks, and Casey's stories became harder to follow. Phone calls went unanswered, messages grew vague, and still no Caylee. Then came the breaking point. Casey's car, a white Pontiac Sunfire, had been towed from a parking lot after being abandoned. Cindy went to retrieve it. When the trunk was opened, the smell hit her first. Something foul, heavy, undeniable. She would later tell 911, "It smells like there's been a dead body in the damn car." That smell haunted everyone who came near it. Seasoned law enforcement officers, forensic teams, even cadaver dogs. Experts confirmed the odor was consistent with human decomposition. It was that moment, after 31 long days, that Cindy Anthony made the call that her daughter never did.
I called a little bit ago, the deputy sheriff. I found out my granddaughter has been taken. She has been missing for a month. We're talking about a 3-year-old little girl. My daughter finally admitted that the baby's in the store. I need to find her.
Your daughter admitted that the baby is where?
But the babysitter took her a month ago. My daughter's been looking for her. I told you my daughter was missing for a month. I just found her today, but I can't find my granddaughter. She just admitted to me that she's been trying to find her herself. There's something wrong. I found my daughter's car today, and it smells like there's been a dead body in the damn car.
Okay, what is the 3-year-old's name?
Caylee, Caylee, Anthony.
When detectives first sat down with Caylee Anthony, they weren't met with tears. They weren't met with panic. They weren't even met with urgency. What they got was calm, polished, practiced. Casey told them her daughter had been kidnapped by her longtime nanny, a woman named Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez. She explained that she had spent the last 31 days conducting her own investigation, chasing leads, trying to get Caylee back. It was a story built on detail, names, dates, places. But it was also a story that didn't exist. The apartment where Casey claimed Zenaida lived had been vacant for months. No one by that name had ever resided there. The phone numbers she gave led nowhere. There were no records of a nanny, no photos, no proof, nothing. Still, Casey stuck to her story, even as investigators followed her breadcrumb trail straight into dead ends. Then came one of the most surreal moments of the case, a lie so bold it almost defied logic. Casey claimed she worked at Universal Studios. Every day, she said, she'd gone to work while desperately trying to find her daughter. Investigators asked her to walk them into the building. She agreed without hesitation. They made it all the way to the back offices, past security, down hallways. She waved to employees, smiled, pretended like she belonged. Then she stopped, turned around, and quietly admitted, "I don't work here." That was the moment something shifted. This wasn't just a mother in shock. This was someone weaving stories out of thin air, stories she seemed to believe herself. And all the while, her daughter, 2-year-old Caylee Marie Anthony, was still missing. The next piece came from the white Pontiac Sunfire. Casey's abandoned car had been towed from a parking lot. When her mother, Cindy, arrived to retrieve it, the smell hit her like a wall. She later told 911, "It smells like there's been a dead body in the damn car." Cadaver dogs would later confirm the presence of decomposition in the trunk. Forensic experts detected high levels of chloroform, and a strand of hair consistent with Caylee's was found inside, exhibiting signs of post-mortem banding, a change that occurs after death. There were also stains on the trunk lining, suspected to be from decomposition, and the scent was described by every investigator as unmistakable. Searches on the Anthony family's computer uncovered troubling internet history. Queries like how to make chloroform, neck-breaking, household weapons, and foolproof suffocation. Still, there was no missing persons report from Casey. No signs of searching, no grief, no panic, just parties. Photos emerged of Casey out at clubs, dancing, drinking, participating in a hot body contest, living a carefree life in the weeks after her daughter was last seen. She even got a new tattoo on her back. It read, "Bella Vita," Italian for beautiful life. To police, it all painted a chilling picture, a mother seemingly unbothered by the disappearance of her toddler, a web of lies that served no one but herself. And not once did she ask, "Have you found Caylee yet?" After just 2 days of questioning, the Orlando Police Department had seen enough. The lies were relentless, the evidence unsettling, and Caylee, the innocent little girl at the center of it all, was still nowhere to be found. On July 16, 2008, Caylee Anthony was arrested for the first time. The charges were initially minor: child neglect, making false statements to law enforcement, and obstruction of a criminal investigation. But investigators knew this was only the beginning. They believed something far more sinister had taken place, and Casey was the key to unlocking it. In jail, Casey showed little emotion. Her conversations were eerily casual, focused more on her boyfriend, her reputation, and how the case was affecting her social circle than the fate of her daughter. She would laugh on the phone, smile in front of cameras, but she never cried for Caylee. The cracks in her story weren't just cracks anymore. They were chasms, and every day, those chasms got wider. 5 months passed. 5 months of silence, of speculation, of searching for a child who was already gone. The world watched. Protesters lined the street outside the Anthony home with signs and candlelight. The media swarmed. Casey remained behind bars, but Caylee was still missing. Then, on the morning of December 11th, 2008, a meter reader named Roy Kronk was walking through a wooded area less than half a mile from the Anthony home. He'd been there before, months earlier, and claimed he had tried to report something suspicious, but nothing came of it. This time, he pushed further into the underbrush, near a swampy area off Suburban Drive. That's when he saw it, a small, weathered garbage bag, torn open, bones scattered nearby, a tiny skull with duct tape still clinging to the jaw. The remains were wrapped in a baby blanket. Nearby, a laundry bag, the kind found in the Anthony home, and a heart-shaped sticker, faint but real, lay pressed near the tape. What was left of Caylee? Marie Anthony had been left to the elements, hidden, forgotten. The discovery rocked the case. Hope, faint as it was, vanished. This wasn't a rescue. This was a recovery. Forensic examiners confirmed it was Caylee through a DNA match. The medical examiner couldn't determine an exact cause of death, but ruled it a homicide. The placement of the duct tape over the mouth and nose suggested deliberate suffocation. There were no signs of trauma, no broken bones, just silence. What it meant. Investigators believed this wasn't an accident. The duct tape, the bag, the blanket, the disposal site, all suggested planning, not panic. But Casey's story shifted once more. She now claimed Caylee had drowned accidentally in the family pool on June 16th, the very day she was last seen alive. She said her father, George Anthony, had helped cover it up. She claimed he told her no one would believe her and that they had to hide the body. And then, in a shocking twist, she accused her father of molesting her as a child, an accusation he vehemently denied. There had been no mention of a pool before, no mention of abuse, no outcry, just new stories introduced after Caylee's remains were found. Casey showed no visible reaction to the discovery of her daughter's body. No breakdown, no visible grief, not in public, not in court, not on camera. In the days that followed, people brought stuffed animals and flowers to the wooded site where Caylee had been found. They built a memorial under the trees. Candles flickered beside notes that read, "Justice for Caylee." Across the country, people who had never met her grieved for a child who never got the chance to grow up. A little girl who had once danced in her grandparents' home, laughed in the pool, hugged her mother, and then vanished. Caylee's face, once smiling in photographs, now haunted news headlines. Her name became more than a tragedy. It became a symbol of how quickly innocence can be taken and how hard justice can be to find. Then came the defense, and with it, a bombshell. Casey's attorney, Jose Baez, claimed Caylee had died accidentally in the family pool on June 16, 2008. He alleged that George Anthony, Casey's father, had discovered the body, panicked, and helped cover it up. And then, without warning, Baez claimed George had sexually abused Caylee for years, saying this trauma explained Casey's behavior, her lying, her detachment. The courtroom gasped. George Anthony denied the accusations on the stand. There was no evidence to support the drowning theory. No witnesses, no reports, just words. The defense called Casey's actions, partying, lying, not reporting Caylee missing, the behavior of a mentally unstable, abused young woman. They urged the jury to see her not as a cold-blooded killer, but as a victim in her own right. The verdict? Not guilty. On July 5, 2011, after 33 days of testimony and 11 hours of deliberation, the jury returned with a verdict. Caylee Anthony was found not guilty of first-degree murder, not guilty of aggravated child abuse, not guilty of aggravated manslaughter. She was only convicted on 4 counts of lying to law enforcement. In that moment, the courtroom fell into stunned silence. The prosecutors looked visibly shaken. Casey cried, not for Caylee, but in relief for herself, and outside, the world erupted. The aftermath, outrage and disbelief. Across the country, people were glued to their screens. The verdict felt like a punch to the gut, not just for those who followed the case, but for anyone who believed in the justice system. How could a mother fail to report her child missing for 31 days, lie to police repeatedly, and walk free? People took to the streets. Protests broke out. Justice for Caylee signs filled the air. Talk show hosts, news anchors, and everyday Americans voiced their disbelief. Social media exploded in fury. The case became more than a trial. It became a national reckoning. Many believed the jury had failed Caylee, that a technical interpretation of the law had left a little girl with no voice, no justice, and no one held responsible for her death. Jurors later admitted they believed something horrible had happened, but said the prosecution hadn't proven how Caylee died. Without a cause of death, they couldn't convict. They followed the letter of the law. But in the eyes of the public, the law had failed. A legacy of shadows. Caylee Anthony walked out of jail, a free woman, just weeks later, smiling, disappearing from the spotlight for a time. But her name, and Caylee's, never faded. Caylee Anthony became a symbol, a reminder that sometimes, even in a courtroom full of evidence, justice slips through the cracks. And that, in those cracks, the whispers of the taken still echo. A life never lived, Caylee Marie. Anthony will never get to grow up. She'll never get to feel the excitement of her first day of preschool, never make best friends in elementary school, never experience school dances, teenage dreams, or the pride of graduation. Caylee won't get to chase her passions, fall in love, start a family, or leave her mark on the world, because her life was stolen far too soon. A bright light, extinguished before it had the chance to shine. If this story moved you, if Caylee's voice touched your heart, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support helps keep the memories of the innocent alive and ensures their stories are never forgotten.